Well, great. Thanks everyone, first of all, for joining us. This is our first What's on Tap from We Work in Chinatown. We intend this to be a conversation with some of the best and brightest in the advertising industry. And this year, I am editor of The Voice, which is voice.aafdc.org, where you will also find a piece that I've just recently written about mobile. My name is Melinda Gibson. I'm with Sabio Mobile, and we're kind of a sponsor here. I guess you could say we just sponsored the beverage.
That's the important part.
That's the important part, And our videographer is Danny, and Danny is with Brink.com, which is an innovative digital agency. I have with me some friends, and we'll just talk about that because a couple of things popped into my mind just recently. First of all, it's award season, or March Madness, is just what they're calling it across the street in Verizon Center, which I can see from here. You can't see it, but I can. And in a conversation that I had with my friend Sue, when the two of us were at the Reed Awards in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, the Reed Awards is for political campaign excellence, something like that. So we were talking about the fact that with somebody like Kellyanne Conway at the head of a winning presidential campaign, could it be possible that the glass ceiling has finally been broken for political advertising? And we're going to come back to that because really a conversation about awards and award season became a conversation about women doing excellent things. And, I almost wonder whether or not women need more affirmation than the usual human being, if that's, we seek it because it's been so hard for us to get ahead in some instances. But I just want to introduce you to our panel. I'm going to let them do that themselves. Give us just a quick intro on who you are, what your agency is and does, and how you feel about this whole women thing.
Great. Well, thank you, Melinda, for having me. My name is Sue Zoldak. I run my own agency called the Zoldak Agency, and a lot of people always ask me, why did you name your agency after yourself? And I just always liked it.
Why not?
Why not? Why not? But also, I want to throw out there that Zoldak means hired gun in Slovak, so I decided to keep that as my agency name. Just wink, wink.
It's Slovakian. That's cool.
It is. Hired assassin. What my firm does is we run issue advocacy campaigns that's helping nonprofits, coalitions, corporations either support or defeat legislation both on the state and local level as well as the federal level. So with a lot of my clients, I help them build coalitions, do grassroots, do social media, develop their media buying strategy, and then execute and optimize that and until we get the result that we want.
Mm-hmm. Jody?
Well, thank you, Melinda, for having me here. My name is Jody Warren. I am Director of Campaign Management with MDB Communications, woman-owned agency. She's Carrie Hatch. She's had the agency in the District of Columbia for 35 years. We just celebrated our 35th anniversary.
Congrats.
I know, it's a long time, huh? I've actually been there 10 and a half years. So it's been a great experience. We are a full service agency, so we do everything from advertising, all of the media strategy and buying, social, online, digital, PR, events, sponsorship. So anything our clients need, we handle. I'm also the 2017 president of AAFDC, so I'm very excited about that. I have been very active with AAFDC for about 7 years and been on the executive committee side for the last 3 or 4 years with all men. So I've been the token lady. So I was really excited when Melinda asked me to come join the panel today. And I also want to give a shout out to Melinda for doing such a great job with our voice blog for AFDC to share. So thank you for that.
Former Ink St. Rich. Well, it's also award season for the Addies, though, too.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what we're calling Ed Cello this year.
Right. So the Addies, which technically is known as the American Advertising Awards, I have to get that right because they changed the name of it. The Addie is the physical award. The event is American Advertising Awards. Happens every March. It's one of our big cornerstone events with AFDC. Everyone looks forward to it. It is a creative night. It's the night for everyone to come out and showcase and shine. And I venture to say, probably a really fun, kind of crazy, anything can happen event, as opposed to advertising week, which is much more thought leadership, seminars, things like that. And agencies in DC, we all start preparing in December. It's a big local award push. You win there, you go on to districts where we compete against New York. So it's a very big deal to get a gold here, so you can go to compete in New York and then ultimately win a national Addie. So we've won Addies. There's Brinks won Addies. It's great. It's a big win amongst your peers in your market. So it's
the best against the best, right?
It is, and it's a great time to come out and network and have fun and see what everyone else is doing and see how you measure up.
Well, Caitlin, let's get you in
Sure.
here too, so we can start mixing it up a little bit.
My name is Caitlin Donahue. I'm the Senior Vice President at Curly Company. And Curly Company is an integrated media company, public affairs, public relations, advocacy, social media, digital media. I'm also the quote-unquote head of digital at Curly Company, which is a first for them. It's a first for me as well. It's an exciting title for me because I'm very much self-taught and I'm very much new to this space, as Sue knows. A couple of years ago, I started to get really interested in the medium and recognizing that this was really where the future was, particularly as it related to political communications and issue advocacy. And DC tends to be considered behind the curve on a lot of things, whether it's fashion or food. And it was interesting to me that I was seeing politics and politicians start to be a little bit ahead of the curve as it related to new media and digital media, and to the point that the politicians and legislators were leading in terms of their use of Twitter and Facebook, and trade associations and companies in the space didn't know how to respond. And so that's really what led me here. Curly Company is a woman-owned, woman-led firm for 15 years, and Jennifer Curley, who's the president of Curly, was at Edelman for several years and was their first vice president of tech at a time when tech was new. And so,
Speaking of companies that are named for the people who founded
yes,
them.
absolutely. So again, thank you. I very much love being here because I think that this is such an important topic, and I think that DC continues to be provide such opportunity for growth in this space. I really don't even think that we've seen what's ahead in terms of the ability for digital and advertising to affect what's happening here.
Do you feel that politics generally is, in terms of advertising, is an old boys club? Is it still, or is that changing? What do you guys think?
I mean, definitely in terms of campaign management and communications and strategy, I feel like we most often see or hear the men being the heads of those positions in politics. I think behind the scenes, I think it's become relatively equal. But I think, as you mentioned with Kellyanne, who I don't necessarily think the media gives enough credit for being a leader. Whichever side of the aisle you're on, I don't think she's getting kind of the proper treatment, to be honest. But I think with that, that is a big step forward. But I also think that, having role models like people in industry and with DC, I've been in DC here for 14 years, and I've definitely seen a very big change, not only in the leadership of companies such as ours, but trade associations, government relations. I've definitely seen a rise in a lot of powerful women in the past decade.
And probably because of people, like your boss, who've been out there for 35 years, right? I mean, she had to start her own company because she probably wasn't being given those opportunities.
Well, and it's been, it's interesting because when I moved to DC 10.5 years ago from New Orleans, I interviewed at several agencies, and I took the job at MDB. And out of all the agencies I interviewed at, MDB is the only one that's still in business in DC. And so, yeah,
Congratulations.
Thanks. I wouldn't have known that, like moving here. But yeah, it's very competitive. If the industry itself is competitive, I think for a woman, it adds just an extra layer, an extra percentage of competitiveness that men probably don't have to
I agree.
deal with. So
I agree. I think politics innately is a more masculine culture. It's more aggressive. You have to be aggressive and cutthroat to win. And those are not necessarily traits that we have been instilled in us or that we have been lauded for. In fact, I think to Sue's point about Kellyanne is that, you finally see an aggressive woman who's willing to do whatever it takes to make her boss win, and all we seem to hear is the negative about that. So I think innately politics is very masculine, but I would agree that behind the scenes, I think there are a lot of women crafting the message, developing strategy, being the creative. What I would love to see is more women stepping out from behind the number one and putting themselves in front and putting themselves in a position to fail, quite frankly, because I think that that's what this is all about is the ability to throw something against the wall and see if it sticks. And I think generally we tend to be a little bit more conservative.
Is there something, though, that women bring to a campaign or a media plan for advocacy and political that you might not get from a male perspective?
I mean,
Are we trying to be as good? Are we, or are we different?
I personally think that women are better listeners, and maybe I'll get a lot of flack for saying this into a video, but I think, and how that translates to me in terms of communications and PR strategy is I find that as a woman or working with other women, we listen and we really absorb what is it that the client or campaign wants. What is the true essence or emotion of what's driving them? What do they stand for on a very deep level? And I tend to believe that women have a better sense of intuition towards that to some degree, and then are able to translate that back out into a creative execution or into message discipline, or to be able to tell that story, but by really finding something unique and personal from our clients. And that's not to say that I think men do a bad job of that. I just think that we approach conversations and listening from a slightly different place.
Excellent answer. Anybody else, though? I mean, that was so good.
It was good.
I typically say intuitive, but I don't know.
I mean, there's no doubt. I very firmly believe that men and women bring different qualities and traits to the table every day, and why it's, we've talked a lot about women-led and women-run organizations, but it's important to have a mix, because I think that that's what gets the strongest results. There was a recent study, there's a lot of studies, but there was a recent study that talked about how men's brains are really efficient because they basically just their brain, when on an MRI, goes boom, right to the place that they need to go to retrieve that information, whereas women's brains tend to be more effective in their thinking. We pull from a lot of different places, and so I really think that it's the best solution to have both voices at the table.
When you were saying that, I think it's true. I think sometimes, especially when you're dealing with advocacy, with people that are so passionate about something, they quite often need to go around and round the silos, or around and round Robin Hood's barn before they arrive at the truth. Men tend to have more patience for that process, but that might be because we have a greater intuition in terms of where we think they should end up at the, it's like, you're just trying to lead people. And I mean, I'm always fighting for patience, to be honest, because, but I mean, technology's part of my thing. So I've always been on the cutting edge of technology, and that's been what fascinates me and what I feel like is transforming culture. So, sometimes I just have to wait for people to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Caitlin. I think that, and I hate to say that it does fall into the category of men and women, because I'd like to say you just need a diverse team.
Yeah.
But it really does come down to the sexes. And I do think it is having both sides represented. I definitely have a team that I work really well with. And, it's part of it is coming at it from this perspective, and part of it's coming at it from this perspective. And my job is really to listen to everyone and to pay attention to what's not being said in the room necessarily, and then how to interpret that back. Because everyone is processing everything differently. Men and women just do. So, yeah, it is. I think it is part of the key is having a good mix of representation in how everyone's approach affects the final product.
And you brought it up. How do you build a diverse team?
It's a challenge. It's really challenging because you can think you have it, and then everyone, like we always say in my company, we're all the A team. We're all the first string. We have no B team. And so how do you build the A team and keep them playing at that level all of the time? It's a lot of trial and error, but I think it's hiring people with like-minded in work ethic and what they're passionate about. And I think we're probably all very passionate in what we do. That's why we do it. And it's pulling out. It's not always just, I think, the skills necessarily, but it's the potential for what isn't presented on a resume that you look for to say, that person's got it. They may not have 5 years of experience, but they've got it. So it takes a long time. I mean, would you agree?
Yeah, I think, and I was just talking to Sue about this earlier, that I will say I think one of the beauties and the differentiators of women is their ability to own up to what they don't know. And that I think building a good team is about finding people that have a skill set that's different than yours, and recognizing and admitting when you don't know something.
That's a good point.
I'll be the first to admit, or my boss Jennifer was the first to admit that she didn't know digital, so she needed to bring in someone who knew digital. And I'm not an expert in crisis comms or traditional comms, but that means that I'm just going to look to build a team of people who have that skill set. So, but that begins with admitting what you don't know, and I think often that's hard for a lot of people.
It's an entrepreneurial spirit, which we enjoy so much at WeWork in Chinatown. Can we bring you into this, or are you? Can you see her from down there, or should we?
Yeah, I can.
So, okay, I just wanted to introduce Sally McBratney. She's kind of our community coordinator here, and has invited us into WeWork's gorgeous space in Chinatown, which we hope everybody will get a chance to visit. Why don't you tell us about this special little place here?
Of course. So welcome to WeWork. Chinatown is one of 8 buildings that we have in DC. So WeWork it's a co-working space, but it's a lot more than that. It's a community of creators. It's a place for people to grow their business, to meet new people, to connect, to share ideas, and do it all in a beautiful building. It's a pretty special place. Melinda, thank you so much for bringing everyone in here. I hope that we can do more like this. We do events all the time, but so this is a new thing for us, and I think that it can be something really cool to keep going forward, especially bringing women to the attention. We really like that.
Yeah, so WeWork has been really, really helpful to us, especially here at AFDC. We have a couple of tiers of membership. You know, there's a group called Add to DC, which is the under 30 or under 35?
Under 30, I think it's 32.
Under 32.
32.
I knew I didn't qualify.
We just barely miss it, right? Just
Yeah.
barely. Yeah.
I know, but what's cool about that is that, I mean, there really are different mindsets and a different level of energy, and they want to make their mark. So
Yes.
there are people who are looking back and willing to put out a hand and mentor some people, but Add to DC has a nonprofit that they work for the year, and they come up with a whole marketing plan for it. It's pretty compelling because people get to work together in a kind of virtual team
Yeah.
that is the kind of team that you aspire to create, you know, in your own agency, right?
Right.
So, I mean, go ahead.
I'll just give a plug. I myself have an office at a WeWork, so I'm at
Okay.
Tyson's. It's a beautiful building, 1775, just brand new. It's a platinum LEED certified, gorgeous, eco-friendly building.
Wow.
And I love it. I love it. The community is great. The people are great. The service is great there, and so I highly recommend it as an entrepreneur. It's really the only way I could have had an office. For my company. I've only been working, we just launched 13 months ago, so it's fantastic. It's definitely a great community.
13 months and you're already winning awards. So
Yeah, yes.
Woohoo, right?
congratulations.
This is our first political season, and I did ask the question in the context of, is it an old boy network? But I mean, what worries me is that politics and advocacy and even government work, and you've done a lot of that, can be an old ideas network. I mean, you fall into this niche of how have we always done it, and so even the Polly Awards, which is where we're going next week, that's you're surrounded by direct mail people, and I have experience with that, but it's not where I feel like the media is going, or the communication network should be going necessarily. And I'm not talking down direct mail. I mean, I think direct mail is great. I'm just saying that, in terms of the mechanics and the way you think about it, it is a completely different conversation than trying to go viral in social media, or trying to put out a mobile campaign that will really become shared and start to excite your base,
I really do think, that we've come to a place where there's definitely a feeling of a changing of the guard, though. I started in this business running ballot measure campaigns, and a lot of those people will be at the Polly Awards. And I, definitely when I started in the ballot management business, that really was and is an good old boys club. There were certain people that were known to do very well with them, and you repeat that process over and over, and there a handful of names that were the premier names in the ballot measure industry, and that's who you had to go and work for. And granted, they did really great work and they won, but it was definitely trying to break into that world as a woman. I definitely felt the old boys network in that field. But I do think that, it's 14, 15 years later, and a lot of these firms are turning over to what used to be junior partners, and, people are retiring and leaving their legacy to a new generation. And I just see across the board in the political industry, I feel like I see so many new young faces, and I'm excited. I think it's an exciting time.
Jump in, go ahead. No, yeah, I see you nodding.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that I can speak to this more recently because I have just jumped into this. Like I said, I spent 12 years as a practitioner working in trade associations and companies doing government affairs. And when I decided I wanted to make the switch to a digital media company, many people were supportive and continue to be supportive, but there were a ton of naysayers who were like, what do you know about digital media? What do you know about issue advocacy campaigns? And that continues to be the case. I think, to Sue's point, it has more to do with just what I like to call the 21st century. I think there's a whole lot of people that are still in the 20th century, and that's okay with them. And so we've made this shift to the 21st century. We're 17 years into it, but there's still that passing of the guard. But for me, that's exciting in terms of like clients when we think about opportunities in the space, because Melinda, you were just sharing with me some of the achievements of your platform and all of the interesting stats and facts as it relates to mobile. Again, so many people in this space, I mean here in DC, have no idea what any of that is. And so I think for us, those of us that work in agencies, it's like, I don't know, I mean, the world is our oyster. They're as these folks continue to retire and younger people come up the ranks, there's going to be even more passion for doing mobile campaigns and looking at what's new.
Well, Sue brought up the L word, so I'll do my Barbara Walters imitation and ask the question that I didn't put into the email as sort of a framework for this conversation. What would you like your legacy to be? I'm gonna start down there.
That's a heavy question.
That is a heavy question.
Like if you want to leave a mark on DC, on advertising, on
Yeah.
what should it be?
Mine, something that I'm really passionate about is management and leadership. I went back to school to get my MBA, and I really truly believe there's such a lack of management and leadership in DC, because so many people get into politics and campaigns because of the passion of it. And so something that I feel strongly about is managing and mentoring, and I would love to leave a legacy of young people behind me who I've been able to instill different work values and ethics in terms of things that I've done and failed, or things that I've done and succeeded at, but that to your point about your company lasting 35 years, and hopefully yours lasts 35 years as well, that's going to require good management. And so that's something I would say is important to me.
Jody.
Well, she kind of stole my answer.
Sorry.
That's okay. But I think we're very like-minded in that. So my degree is in psychology and sociology. So like crazy, I'm in advertising and everything. But it makes a lot of sense when you step back, because the majority of what I do and separate out the actual work, it's client relationship management, it's internal relationship management, and that's one thing I'm very passionate about, is mentoring my team and working with the younger people in the agency and hiring the right younger people in the agency. I had been helping out with the internship program, and it was amazing to me the interns that we would get semester after semester that came out with really very little skills in terms of how to function in an organization, which makes sense. They're in school all the time, but I feel like some of it you just should get, or you should take initiative and do things. So I really kind of am passionate about mentoring people in their early stages of their career, and also really working with my clients and helping them, because I find that a lot of times your clients, and some of my clients are going to be saying this, but clients tend to stay in their own bubble, because that's what they do, right? Like they're running their organization or doing whatever they're supposed to be doing. And I think it's always refreshing to be able to come in and say, like, why don't we mix it up? We could do this differently. Like, let's try this. And it's always well informed and thoughtful, and but it's also working with them and developing new strategies and just kind of moving the ball, right? Whether it's internally or with clients, just keeping it moving. And I would love to have a nice long line of great account team people, creative people, clients that at the end of my career they're like, this was great, she made a difference. So I don't know.
Well, first I really need to give a shout out to Caitlin because your transition, which you've spoke about several times, and I know it's hard to talk about yourself, but from my perspective, I met Caitlin at first when she was at a senior position at a trade association, and to shift from being kind of internal to being an agency person, a consultant, and an advisor in such an amazingly successful way, I think it should be inspirational to not only just other women, but other people in DC who are, feeling like they may be stuck in a certain track. It's not about your job description or what you do day to day. It's about you having an innate understanding and passion about the bigger picture of what we do, which is communications, which clearly is something that, Caitlin exudes. And, that's a very brave move that I think a lot of people don't take in DC because they feel like, well, once I'm, corporate or in-house or this or that, I need to just follow those steps and there's no way to cross over from one side to the other. And I'm sure you've encountered, young people or mid-level people or senior people who feel like that, I don't have any other choice but to stick with this, even though I might actually want to be on the other side of the table.
Yes.
And really, I cannot
Thank you.
give Caitlin
Thank you.
kudos
Thank
for
you.
that because it's
You're a
really
doll.
amazing.
For the record,
really.
Sue was never one of the people that was the naysayer. So she's always been supportive, but I appreciate
Well,
that.
we all
It's
need
very hard-
encouragement,
it's a
though.
very
We all
hard
need
thing to do.
encouragement.
It's not as easy as it just sounds. It really isn't. People are very entrenched in their careers here in DC. But to answer your question, because I do want to answer your question about legacy. For me personally, it's about being a role model for other women that you can do it all, and I truly mean that. I'm a mother. My daughter is 10. I've worked long hours. I've traveled end to end. I've made it to Hartford, Connecticut, and back to pick up my daughter from daycare in a single day. For a meeting. Can you do these things? People say, how can you do that? How can you be in Chicago at 10 a.m. and be at your daughter's ballet, recital that evening? Absolutely, you can, and you shouldn't take anything less or expect anything less from your boss. And, what I always tell women that I work with, I try to set a physical example of that balance in life of having fun. I go on vacations, I take care of my daughter, I work really hard to advance in my career. And don't let anyone tell you that you have to make these choices. But two, we also can't wait for government to make rules that'll make our lives easier. How people ask me all the time, how did you get to be able to do all this? Well, I got to be able to do all this by going and having conversations with my bosses about my long-term goals, about what it means to me to be a working mother, and to have open, deep conversations and to build a level of trust with your boss. Will you come back after you have your child? What do you want to do? How soon do you want to come back? And I didn't need a piece of legislation, to give me that empowerment. It's about having that conversation. Again, it's just building a good rapport and respect with the people that you work with, and then showing that respect to your employees as well, and turning that back and giving that back. We've all gone through hard times at work and needed, personal understanding. And I think when we show that and give and take that, that is the legacy that I hope as a working woman business owner to be able to make a difference in, because I think that change and that environment comes from us.
So I'm addicted to startups. It's a terrible addiction, and I always find myself on the leading edge. Some would say the bleeding edge, but I think that suits my nature as an explainer, which is probably why I got into journalism, right? I think I want to help people understand the power of mobile media and mobile advertising. So, that's sort of my, professional career. But as part of that, and because of the kinds of media targeting that's going on, what I hope that I can do in this conversation that we're having is to make it more diverse, more integrated, and less polarized. So anybody can, quote, mobilize your base, right? What has gone out of the political discussion and sometimes the advertising discussion is the ability to persuade. So how can we as communicators bring persuasion back into the conversation? And if we're good at it, you know, people will love the companies that we represent, or the products that we roll out, or the people that we work with. You know, it'll be good for everybody. So I know we're gonna look to wrap up here, but I just want to give a shout out to anybody who wants to blog for us at voice.aafdc. We are an entirely volunteer organization. Entirely volunteer, and remind everybody that we are getting together on the March 24th at the museum to celebrate the best in creativity and advertising.
Yes, theme is Adchella. If you're not familiar with the big music festival in California, Coachella. In DC, we have Adchella. Whatever the theme, come out. Museum is a great venue. The committee has worked really hard this year on this event, and you know, we have, can I plug AFDC real quick?
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah.
So AFDC, to Melinda's point, it's all volunteers, but we have over 900 members now. So that's a pretty big member base, and if you are seeing this and you're a member, you can get involved however you want to do anything.
We'll put you to work.
Melinda
You can come here.
Melinda will put you to work. But yes, so thank you for that, and I hope to see, well, actually, I won't be at Adchella, but everyone else will have fun.
We'll all have fun.
Yes.
And this was fun for me. So thank you for
fun.
coming.
This
on.
was
Thank
good.
you.
Okay,
Awesome.
thanks, guys.
Great, thanks.
See you on the
Thank
flip side. Bye.
Thank you.